Category 4 Hurricane Beryl has passed, but normalcy has not returned for many Jamaicans. The government and utility companies are in their assessment phase, auditing the extent of the damage and seeing how fast they can return services to those affected. The JPSCO had said that the southern parish of St. Elizabeth, Clarendon and Manchester have been badly hit, and that has presented hurdles to reconnection. The utility companies also are singing along the same tune. The race to normalcy begins, and we continue to track and keep you informed right here on Lead Story. This is Lead Story. My name is Nika Lewis. We're talking all about connectivity and disruptions to services that were had recently here in Jamaica prior to the Hurricane Category 4 Beryl that hit sections of the country. You would have heard that sections of the country, predominantly along the southwestern ends of the parishes in St. Elizabeth, Clarendon and Manchester, are among the worst affected. And so to this point, we know that only about 80% of Jamaicans have electricity in their homes at this point. That's according to the JPSCO, based on a media briefing earlier today. And we also know that at this point, there are several households without running water in their pipelines, and that's the purview of the National Water Commission. However, these agencies are working feverishly, according to their representatives, to get the affected Jamaicans back on track. In fact, the Jamaica Public Service Company, JPSCO, said it has restored 80,000 customers across the island, predominantly in Kingston and St. Andrew, St. Catherine and St. Thomas. And we do know that these were perhaps some of the parishes that were least impacted by the bands and the eye wall of Hurricane Beryl. Hurricane Beryl didn't directly hit Jamaica, and it has some critics wondering why, therefore, electricity is so long impacted. However, these are trying times. We understand there were some downed power lines, there are downed utility poles, trees came down in some major roadways, and we understand from the National Works Agency that of the hundreds of impacted roadways that were once deemed impossible, as at this morning, only about 10 remain impossible or affected in severe ways. We have joining us Audrey Williams, and she is from the Customer Care and Customer Relations Unit at the Jamaica Public Service Company. Welcome, Audrey.
Hi, good evening, Nika. How are you doing?
We're doing better, I believe, at this point.
Great.
Yes. So what is the situation with customers across Jamaica this evening?
Right. So we started the day having done 80,000 customers yesterday. We got in back 80,000 yesterday. Today, and the numbers are still being tallied, so I don't have the number, but we did do quite a bit of work today in a number of parishes, and I could just outline for you some of the communities that we've been working in. So in St. Catherine, we've been working in sections of Old Harbour Town, Marley Mount, Gutters, Old Harbour Bay, Bushy Park, Springville, New Harbour Village 1, 2, and 3, Claremont Heights, and other locations. I don't want to bore you with an entirely long list. In Portmore, though, as we tend to treat it specially, we have been working in sections of Bridgeport, Edgewater, Port Henderson Road, Bridgeview, in sections of Passage Fort. So West Cumberland. So customers should, and I have been getting responses from persons as well, that customers are receiving electricity. We do continue, of course, to work in Kingston and St. Andrew. We've been in places like Plymouth, Pineland, across in Crossroads. We've been Beverly Hills, Cherry Gardens, Long Mountain, Stony Hill, and a range of other places. Hewitt Circle and environs, Washington Boulevard and environs, More Lines and environs. One of the things we can say, importantly, is that we have been also at the same time working on our essential services. That's very critical. So places like the Princess Margaret Hospital in St. Thomas, we would have restored them. Places like the Norman Manley International Airport, Spanish Town Hospital over there in St. Catherine, also Cornwall Regional Hospital in St. James, Francis International in St. James, and so on. So we will be continuing. We expect to be doing a lot of work into the night. And also over the weekend, my apologies for the noisy background, also over the weekend, we do see that there are some prospects for showers and so on, but in as much as we're able to proceed safely, we will be doing so. So one of the things our customers can do, because we know everybody wants to know, when are you coming to my community?
Exactly.
One of the things you can do, right? One of the things you can do is go to my JPS online. That's on our social media platforms. You can go to Instagram, X, you can go to Facebook, and schedules will be up. Or you can join the WhatsApp chat line, and the schedules will be in there as well. So we do just encourage everybody to go there, check on the schedule. We'll be doing our very best to not only keep it, but if possible, outdo it. And if we haven't gotten to you, hang tight, because we are coming to everybody. We want to get everybody back in as quickly and as safely as we can.
Right. So do you have any idea as to the parishes that are less serviced at this time, but still have a vast number of affected customers? Ms. Williams?
Less serviced. Well, in terms of the devastation level, I do think that Clarendon and Manchester are particularly outstanding, just based on where they were and how they took the hit. A lot of poles went down, a lot of infrastructural damage in those areas. Notwithstanding, we are working in those parishes. We are, but we do perceive that there is a significant challenge, especially in the more devastated areas.
I want to put in a plug for one of our colleagues who asked about her family over in Thompson Town, Clarendon. Has there been any team in that area at all? I understand there were several downed trees and utility poles, so I'm not certain if there's headway or any idea as to what's happening in that section. It seems to be very rural, and the terrain might have posed a challenge. Right.
I'm not 100% sure. I do believe I saw Thompson Town on a schedule as well, though, coming up for attention. So, but I can't give an exact timeline. That's something that I would be able to update you on, though, going forward. Okay. Sometimes, let me just point out as well, Nika, sometimes it's not only about the damage to the infrastructure itself, sometimes it's about access, both in terms of roads or if there's been some landsliding, taking poles and so on with it, etc. So there are a range of issues. Sometimes it's about the source, sometimes it's a fault along the line that leads into a community. So it's really a range of issues, but we are working assiduously to get everybody back in. I'll be able to tell you about Thompson Town going forward.
We appreciate that. You went to a meeting today with the Minister of Telecommunications, Darrell Vaz. What was, would you say, the significant takeaway from that meeting?
All right, so I understand that it was a very good meeting. I'm sure we're going to be sharing a little bit more about that going forward, but I can say that that meeting was a very positive one, and we all want the same things. We're all serving the Jamaican public. I think we all felt very satisfied with how it went.
Understood. The telecoms providers have been fingering JPS as the main player in some of the downage, well, the downtime that we're seeing for connectivity in some parishes and some sections of the country. Where are you at in relation to communication, dialogue, and ensuring that these matters are dealt with swiftly?
Right. Well, no doubt we play a critical role really in just about everybody's functioning, and telecoms would come under what we regard as essential services or critical services. So we're definitely spending a lot of time trying to make sure that we service them well. We have been doing a lot of restorative work. I do believe you should see and experience some difference going forward. So we have been doing a lot of work to restore our telecom providers.
All right. Do you have any rough estimates as to the sort of damage and loss that JPSCo suffered during this event?
No, it's really very premature for us to be able to disclose a figure right now, and we really are focused heavily on just trying to get to our customers. We've done the assessments, we know what needs to be done, and we're trying to get to our customers. But we'll be able to speak more about that going forward.
Indeed. Finally, what would you say to Jamaicans who are now possibly interacting? The curfews have been lifted, they have the opportunity to interact and to try and rebuild, etc. What would you say to them if they're interacting with downed wires, utility poles, etc.?
Right. Well, I would say don't interact with them at all. We understand the curiosity and we understand the desire to, get close-up footage and pictures and the rest of it. Curiosity is natural. However, this is not a plaything. This is a very, very serious matter. Persons ought to stay away from downed lines, regardless of whether they believe them to be electrical or telecoms lines. They ought to stay away from all downed lines and utility poles and other equipment that is associated with anything to do with the delivery of electricity. Report it and allow the experts to deal with it.
Yes. Well, we also have some information coming out of Trelawney that there are still several communities out closer to the north coast without electricity this evening. What would you say to those people who are still in the dark?
Well, we do have a plan we've been working on Trelawney actually today, our work teams are out there, as well as St. James. So we are on the north coast. The teams are doing the best that they can. We do ask our customers to bear with us a little bit. It's been literally about a day and a half since the hurricane passed. And so we are really doing our best to try and get to all our customers. We have to understand as well that we go on first of all, the basis of who's most critical, and we cascade our efforts going downward. So the critical customers and then the big communities, etc., and we cascade right down. So you are in the list. We are going to be paying attention to you, but we do ask for a little bit of patience. It's been a day and a half, but we are going to get to you. We can see it's going to be a very busy night and a very, very busy weekend.
We know your team is under some amount of pressure, and we do understand that it will take some time. So we just want to know, how much more do you perceive that the company can take if the hurricane season continues to intensify at this rate?
Well, we did know that we would have a very active season, and it's really showing itself to be that. We have a group of extremely highly trained professionals. There are no newbies and novices in this. These are some of the same people who restored us when Sandy hit us and took out 70% of the grid, and we got back on our feet in a matter of some days, maybe a week and touch. We've done this before. We've done this several times before. We've been a source of support and strength to other Caribbean countries. When they have their issues, we send our linemen to them to help them get back on their feet. So we're not afraid of the challenge of a very active season. That's something that our seasoned professionals know how to handle.
All right, thank you so much. That's Audrey Williams of the Jamaica Public Service Company Limited. With this, we take a quick break. More lead story after these. Welcome back to Lead Story. I'm Nika Lewis. Let's first apologize for that extended break, but we are giving you more of what happened earlier in St. Thomas with our reporter Natalia Clark covering Hurricane Beryl.
The National Works Agency on Friday confirmed about 200 roads across the island were compromised during the passage of Hurricane Beryl on Wednesday.
We have cleared all to at least single lane with the exception of approximately 10 in the parishes of St. Elizabeth, Hanover, St. Catherine, St. Thomas, and also in rural St. Andrew. Those are actually being tackled now to try and clear those as quickly as is possible.
Some of the impacted roadways, as observed by CVM, were in the Spring Garden community in Albion St. Thomas, Green Pond Square in St. James, the Flat Bridge in Bugwalk St. Catherine, and the Southern Coastal Highway in St. Thomas.
It appears that these relentless waves, for hours on end, battered against the newly installed infrastructure, forcing it to crumble. Now, this retaining wall was intended to serve as some sort of barrier between the sea and the road, but as we can see, it failed.
This raises the question, what are relevant stakeholders doing to protect these roadways from extreme weather conditions, which are expected to increase in the coming years? Compromised infrastructure leads to reduced and delayed transportation. It also means more taxpayer money being spent repeatedly on the same projects, and it translates to reduced productivity for commuters. How does accountability come into play, and what steps are being taken to integrate modern technology and proven engineering techniques to construct resilient roads across Jamaica? Natalia Clark for Lead Story.
Thanks, Natalia. Well, joining us now is Member of Parliament for St. Thomas Western, Mr. James Robertson. Welcome, Mr. Robertson.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Our viewers and listeners would love to understand what was happening there with that major damage along the newly installed Southern Coastal Highway leg that's joining into your constituency over in Western St. Thomas.
Let me just indicate quickly. The expenditure, the new highway, Harborview to Morant Bay to Cedar Valley, 99% completed, are projects that, to my knowledge, have not yet been handed over to the National Work Agency by the contractors. I've asked the questions similar to what you have asked. I listened to your lead-in commentary, which is very good. I mean, excellent commentary, excellent thought process. And I share that, the concern. So we have a major concern in the Grand Spend area on a new alignment, an alignment that opens up our parish and the East to investment and infrastructure, the modern age. So we are still very, very positive. The international company that I believe designed the highway and is monitoring the rollout of the highway must address 2 or 3 major issues. There is an issue that, for example, Morant Bay to Cedar Valley, where we had a bridge that we were not happy with. As the taxpayers, the residents, the users, there was a bridge in Lower York. And I can tell you, today, if you drive there, you will see that they listen to us and they're widening it. And we're very happy for that. So those are the individuals from Cedar Valley, Trinityville that use that thoroughfare. We are very happy with that redesign and that new bridge being built. So under construction is still infrastructure that makes the use of this investment and this highway much more user-friendly and giving us value for money. But let me just indicate quickly, we do have a major concern in the Grand Spend area. And they are fully aware of it. The National Work Agency, Stanley Consultants, and the new minister, Minister Marlon Morgan, toured it maybe 2 weeks ago, and that is one of the areas that was highlighted.
Understood.
There is an issue, for example, just going into Yallis, where the citizens, the residents, are of the opinion that what has been built there will not carry the flow of the money. I share their opinion, so I look for that also to be addressed. When you leave White Horses, between White Horses and Morant Bay, there's an area where you come right into the coast, right along the coastline. We have had some challenges there. But just let me indicate, this investment that has been done has changed the lives of us all. We are still able to get in and out of St. Thomas and Portland in record time. Investment is pouring in. I believe we have more than gotten good value for money. And as the Member of Parliament, say thank you.
Okay, well, thank you so much for sharing with us in that very short time, MP James Robertson out of Western St. Thomas. All the best to you and your constituents. And that's all the time we have for Lead Story this evening. We see here that after a decisive victory, just an update, in the UK elections, the Labour Party has now taken the helm of the British government, and the Caribbean community across the pond is jubilant as the newly foreign secretary, who is equivalent to our Minister of Foreign Affairs, is David Lammy, a staunch advocate, of course, for the Windrush generation, and he replaces James Cleverly, who is of Sierra Leonean descent. The Caribbean community in the UK is celebrating that accomplishment of one of its sons. Lammy is the child of a Guyanese mother who migrated to the UK, and he publicly rebuked the Conservative-led government for the deportation to Jamaica of British-born individuals with Jamaican ties. That's it for Lead Story. I'm Nika Lewis.